Good morning, everyone. This is Matt Sexton with the Florida Department of Transportation's Production Support Office, CAD. Today we'll be discussing Chapter 13 of the Traffic Plans Production Manual, which is the printing tools. Today we're going to discuss printing and plotting, two terms which I will use interchangeably, so hopefully that won't bother anyone. So this section covers the basics of printing for MicroStation. FDOT delivers a number of plot drivers that can be used to plot hard copy paper plots or electronic postscripts or PDFs. The plot drivers control how MicroStation displays the graphics on paper or in the electronic file, and you can produce several plots different ways through MicroStation. Each district office may have its own set of printing procedures and plot drivers, but you should contact your CAD manager if you have any questions regarding the printing. The intention of this chapter is to explain two printing options, printing through MicroStation, the print dialog itself, and also through MicroStation Print Organizer. Print Organizer, if you recall from a while back, replaced the old batch plot. Like we were saying, we deliver some plot drivers with our workspace, and this chapter we're not going to go too in-depth on modifying the plot drivers. We do already have a bit of information out there about modifying the plot drivers, and if you do ever run into a situation where you need help modifying the plot drivers, you can feel free to contact us directly and we'll give you support for that. You shouldn't need to. A lot of it right out of the box works fantastically. We do deliver a document that's located in your FDOT SS4 resources plot directory that better explains the plot drivers that we deliver. You might want to review the document before printing. It's got a lot of important, helpful information in it. So the MicroStation print engine required a lot of changes for the VAI platform to ensure compatibility with this edition's reworked graphics. That's mentioned in the chapter. There's a number of upgrades in printing functionality. We're not going to dive too deep into that today. Again, this is basically printing relative to traffic plans, but it does go through a number of things. So one of the things that's involved in the main print dialog here, and you can access the print dialog from the File menu under Print, and it's going to ask you to select a plot driver. Today we're going to be working with PDFs. So I'm just going to select the FDOT PDF plot driver. Now with the print dialog, you can set your settings manually. You can set your how it's fenced, how the view gets selected. You can set the size of your paper and then the scale. Right now I've just hit print and it's just using the view window as my area to print, and we're going to get into that later, how the new print styles can facilitate making that a little bit more efficient for you. Now you'll notice here you do have an option to select Bentley driver or Windows driver. The Windows driver will let you use all of your standard Windows printer settings to do your plotting or printing. See, I tripped myself up there already using them interchangeably. Today we're going to be using it as a Bentley driver. So I'm going to kind of step through some of the things about the print dialog. We do have options here to open and save print definition files, and your print definition file is essentially all of your settings that's in the dialog, including your scale and any additional pen tables or whatnot. That's your print definition file. In MicroStation and GeoPack, you might end up with other dialogs where you can kind of save the settings. It doesn't really save anything other than literally the dialog settings, and that's kind of analogous to what the print definition file does. You do have your Bentley and Windows printer driver options here, just like this drop-down, so there's again some redundancy going on there. You can edit the printer driver configuration. This is going to bring up this dialog, which we're not really going to go through, and I'm sure you've probably gone through it before, especially if you've had any sort of printing problems and you've gotten on the phone with me to troubleshoot those. Typically we'll go through and take a look at the printer driver and see if there's anything that needs to be changed or modified, whether your line weight is acting funny or something like that. Paper sizes, like I mentioned, orientation, scaling, which is automatic when you fence, and I'm going to show you that in a second too. The settings menu has an absolute ton of different options, but the ones we're going to be mostly concerned with are your print attributes, your apply print style, and then of course there's some preferences we're going to take a look at. First I want to look at the print attributes. You might recognize this dialog. The print attributes looks a lot like the display attributes in your MicroStation view. So this is going to be analogous to that. Use the word twice in this presentation so far. For example, you might want to turn off your constructions or your data fields or something like that to make your plot look like what it looks like on the screen. based on your display attributes. So if you're familiar with the display attributes dialog, this print attributes dialog should be pretty familiar with you. Okay, applying the print style, we have a number of print styles set up. Now the print styles essentially pick your driver, they pick your pen table for you, they have all the settings that would be in like a print definition file set up in the print style, and that's going to make your printing a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. We're going to go through that. I'm going to go through some exercises with you. I'm essentially running through the dialog before we actually go through the exercise. Your resymbolization menu has your options for your pen table. We do deliver a number of pen tables. The one we'll be using today is just the standard F-dot pen table. That concerns itself with the way your lines look. Again, a lot of the nuts and bolts of this are going to be contained in the plotting presentation. So if you want to go back and take a look at the plotting presentation, the printing presentation, and that manual, then that's going to give you a lot more of the nuts and bolts of this. So I'm going to go through this first exercise with you that's in Chapter 13. This is just printing from the print dialog. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've opened up my Plan SP01, and I'm going to go ahead and place a fence around it and close this dialog. Something I learned a while back, which I'm not sure if a lot of people know, or if everyone knows, or if no one knows, is if you hold down Control-Shift when you're using the fence tool, it'll find the corners of your plot border. Handy little trick if you didn't know that, Control-Shift. If you did know that, well then, congratulations. So I've placed the fence, and now I'm going to open up the print dialog again. And you'll notice that it's gone ahead and selected the fence as my printing area. In the print dialog, I'm going to select my Bentley driver, which it's already selected, but if I needed to select a different one, I could simply click on the spyglass there and select my driver, or come up here and select from that option in the menu. So there's two ways to get to it. See, that was the next step. So I'm going to open up the plot driver, select resymbolization. I'm going to attach my pen table. I can attach it through that resymbolization menu, or by selecting pen table, clicking on the spyglass here, and selecting it there. So you can see that I've selected the F-dot pen table. The paper size is automatically set to 11 by 17, and it has set the scale for 50 scale. As you can see, that is the scale of my drawing. Now let's take a look at the print attributes. Like I said before, I'm going to turn off my constructions and my data fields. That way I'm not printing these data fields here. Okay, you can see in the sheet border, those won't be printed. And I won't be printing the plot border because of that. See, it says I should turn off my constructions data fields, and there's nothing else. Okay, great. So I'm going to click OK. We're pretty much ready to print now. So I'm going to select Print. It's going to open up a dialog asking you if you'd like to go ahead and save that PDF. Obviously, I stepped through this exercise yesterday. It's already saved a Plan SP01 PDF, but I'm going to save over it. Now I'm going to go ahead and navigate to my project. And let's see, it's this one. It's in the signing folder, ENG data. And isn't that the most beautiful PDF you've ever seen? Turned out exactly as expected. And that's all I can hope for. Okay. One other thing included in the chapter was if you're looking for the plot file you just created, the PDF, you can select the standard menu and go to Explore Current Working Directory. And that's going to bring up the signing folder. I am indeed in the signing folder, ENG data, Plan SP01. I incidentally happen to have a Windows Explorer window on my other screen, and so I was merely drawn over to that. But that's an easy way to access that. I've got a question. Explain how users can set the pen table by default by going into Workspace Config Printing. This will ensure the pen table is always attached. All right, Joe has suggested I show Workspace Config Printing. So we're diving down a little bit here. And I assume he means, well, here's our pen table search path. Let's see. Must be the default pen table. I've actually never done this, but I'm sure I can find it right quick. Default pen table. So yes, you can set your default pen table here as a configuration variable. So if you always want to have the f pen table attached, then you can set that here. So that's an awesome suggestion there, Joe. Appreciate that. So now let's talk about using a print style, because I mentioned print styles. And like I had said before, it has all of your settings for the dialog already set up in that print style, and it has another number of interesting things. So I'm getting rid of my fence. Let's go back to my printing dialog. And as you can see, it has not selected the printing area correctly now and the pen table's unattached, so detached. So let's select a print style. Basically, the f.pdf print style is everything I just did in the print dialog already set up for me. So I click OK. It locates the plot border for me, so I've got the correct printing area. It's set for the f.pdf now. The scale is correct, the paper size is correct, and it has attached the f.pen table. So all of that's ready to go. So we can simply hit print, save again, explore current working directory. Oh, there it is. And once again, we get the exact same PDF. So that's really cool. So I want to talk about the print definition file. The print definition file also includes save print definition file. So like I mentioned, it's going to save your settings, it's going to save the file in question. This can be used in the print organizer. So this contains the file name and all that. So you can see that it's Plan SP01. In this exercise, because we're going to go ahead and use this as the foundation of our group of plots, I'm going to call this signalization and .pdf, signing and payment marking.pdf, -pdf, .pset. You might recognize that Print Organizer saves files as pset. That's what I'm doing right here. Okay. If I were to close the print dialog and then open the print dialog, I can open this one up, and there you go. All my settings are right back there. So let's talk about Print Organizer. You can access Print Organizer from the File menu in MicroStation under Print Organizer. Once again, it's going to ask you what driver you want to use. We're making PDFs today. So before executing a print job in Print Organizer, open a file that you want to include in the print job and look at the message center. If any problems occur with that print job, there's going to be a notification in the message center which might assist the designer in correcting the problem. That's you. With Print Organizer, you can import old job files. However, when an old job file is opened with Print Organizer, a conversion will take place. The old batch specification file must be available. You'll get a warning dialog, but we're not going to talk too much about the details about the nuts and bolts of that. We're going to talk about the more tangible aspects of Print Organizer as it applies to printing these sheets for traffic plans. So a print set file is called a pset, and it's easily created and saved with the following steps. You can open a design file, preferably one to include in your job. Select File, Print Organizer, like we just did, and in the Print Organizer, select File, Save As. You'll notice, just like the print dialog, it's going to ask you to save it as a pset. Okay? You can define the name and location, store the pset, and then save it. Really easy if you're familiar with the way Windows works and the way Windows save dialogs work. That's exactly what that is. Once the print set's been created, you can organize the print set by adding folders and files. You'll notice you can add a folder, multiple folders here, subfolders, and you can add files. So if I was going to go ahead and you can actually drag files from your Windows Explorer. So for example, my Plan SP01, if I want to put that in that folder, it's taking a second. There's a message on my other screen that you don't see right now. There's a screen cap in the manual that's print organizer status. It's adding print definitions to the setup, to the set. And as you see now, the Plan SP01 is in the folder that I dragged it to. We're going to do an exercise in a minute that's going to be a little bit more organized than this. I just want to kind of run you through. There's some icons up at the top. They're all sort of self-explanatory and intuitive. You can add a folder, just like I was doing here. That's add a folder. You can add files. That's going to bring up this dialog so that you can browse for your files. You can add multiple files. And once you have the files, you can drag them elsewhere. This allows you to delete whatever's selected. Really self-explanatory there. And if you have a file in your pset, this is your Properties button. You can also select Properties here. When it brings up the properties, this is sort of looks familiar. It looks a little bit like the print dialog. You can select your pen table. So if you want to have a different pen table for each file, well, I imagine you wouldn't want to have a different pen table for each file, but if certain files you want to use a different pen table for, you can select that here. You can select your print area. This is all sort of set up by the print styles anyways. And this will allow you to kind of troubleshoot. Here is your display options, or your print options. You might recognize that. It looks like the print options dialog, which looks like the display attributes dialog. There's options to change your output file name. We're going to cover that shortly. And of course your default print definition name as well. In the edit menu, we've got renaming options, delete options, some stuff that corresponds to those buttons we went through, and then of course your preferences, which we're not going to cover too much of the preferences because today we're pretty much using the defaults. Okay, and then you have your apply print style. This works just like the apply print style from the print dialog. Okay. If you want a print preview, you can also get that. You can see now, since we have not applied a print style, that it's not fencing it correctly. Exercise 13.2 from Chapter 13 of the Traffic Plans Production Manual, Printing with Print Organizer. So we're going to open and modify an existing print set. That can't be right. Oh, it is absolutely correct. So in the previous exercise, we saved a pset file, which is based on setup in the print dialog. As previously mentioned in this chapter, print set files and print styles can be utilized in the print dialog and print organizer. In this exercise, the student will open and make specific changes to the signing and pavement marking PDF pset file and save those changes to the existing print set file. So it says we should open up the DSGN SP01 DGN file. So let's just go ahead and start there. How to print roadway key sheet using the county PDF map. You would print a key sheet with a PDF map like any other sheet using the standard PDF driver and using grayscale. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think we actually have a number of additional resources such as a pen table specific to the key sheets, although I'm not sure if that's the legacy key sheet. When creating a print set through Sheet Navigator, any files with multiple sheets merely replicates the first sheet found for the remaining sheets. Any solutions to this? Make sure to apply the print style in Sheet Navigator before creating the pset. So we're going to go over that towards the end. Jimmy?
Yeah, correct. If you reapply a print style after the sheets have been added to the print set, it will just print the first sheet over and over and over for however many number of borders you have in the file.
Okay, so the step is to apply the print style in Sheet Navigator before creating the pset. All right, so let's go ahead and, like we said, I'm going to open up my signing and pavement marking P-set. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to change the output file name. One of the things I hadn't mentioned was in Print Organizer, the output file name is by default dictated by the name of the P-set, which is sapm-pdf.pset. So if we look at our output file names, it's set for print counter and then the print set name. So if we preview the names, this is going to show us what our names will look like. The dialog should open. Well, that's interesting. Oh, here we are. It's showing you that for the first file in it, the file name is going to be 001-sapm-pdf.pdf, and that's certainly not ideal. So what we want to set that to is going to be the design name. You already have your sequence number in your design name, so you don't need Print Organizer to apply a sequence number to it. So now if we preview the output name, you can see that plan SB01 is going to be plan SB01.pdf. So if you notice that your PDFs are coming out with funky names, then you might want to go ahead and check the output file name on that. Okay, closing that and moving on. So we're going to go ahead and add some DGN files to it. From the F-dot menu, select Standard, Explore Current Working Directory, and that's going to open up, again, as we mentioned before, Windows Explorer inside your project. So we'll move that down a little bit. Current Working Directory is what I'm looking for. So they want me to go ahead and just drag and drop plan SP01 in there. It asks if I want to apply a print style. I'm definitely going to select the f.pdf print style. The Print Organizer status message is on my other screen, just so you know. It's adding the print definition. One of the other things I'm going to do is, because I did not, actually, let's double check this real quick. Remember how in the previous P-set, when we just dragged files in, it wasn't fencing them correctly? We based this off of a print definition that we created in the print dialog, which had a print style applied to it. So now that I've brought this into Print Organizer, that print style is already applied. So you see my scale is correct, my paper size is correct, and my fencing is correct, and it has the correct pen table attached. Okay, I'm going to click OK, apply the print style dialog. It's going to put that in there, and then the next step, we're going to go ahead and modify the set further by setting pen table for multiple print definitions, which we shouldn't necessarily need to do. But if we wanted to, if we had not applied a print style, we can select multiple files, select properties, and then you can select your pen table here. So just to show you that properties dialog does work with multiple files, and you can select multiple files by being right here at the root of the P-set, and it'll show up in that right pane right there. Alternatively, you can apply your print style here. So we've got that. So we've explored adding the pen table to it, and now because we've added that print style, let's do a print preview real quick and take a look at what's going on. That print preview looks correct to me. You can change, well, you can't change, apparently if you did this, you can select between any files in that selection using that drop down in print preview. Okay, so we're going to create a brand new P-set. I'm not going to save changes. Okay. And again, as we mentioned in the previous explanation, we can go ahead and save the P-set right here, just like any sort of standard Windows dialog. They want me to name it signing-pdf.pset. And we want to add a folder to the set. First, we're going to change the category name. Actually, the category name automatically changed. Add a folder. The folder is going to be called Key Sheet. We're going to add multiple folders here. We want one for plan sheets. They want one for summary of quantities. One for general notes. Tabulation of quantities. menus. And the guide sign sheet. So we're going to explore our current working directory. I think this might be the most number of times that I've clicked that option on the menu in a single presentation. We've located our key sheet. We're going to drag it into that folder. We are going to apply a print style. Okay. Where did my folder go? Ha. And then we're going to go ahead and repeat that with the plan sheets. Our summary of quantities. Let's see, general notes. Let's see, tabulation of quantities. And then, of course, our guide sign sheet. Looks like I have a number of questions. I'm going to take a pause real quick in this presentation to address the questions if they haven't been answered yet. Could we get you to toggle on the transparency display setting in subsequent f.pdf print styles to have that setting automatically applied? I don't know if that's something that we're going to do. If you go through the plotting training, you can find out how to make your own print styles. And if you want to have that transparency display setting toggled on, you can create a print style that will contain that display setting. Why would I create a separate folder for each file? That's just the way we're making this pset that's in the exercise. So I've dragged in all of my files and I've applied the f.pdf print style. I'm going to skip ahead to this next part. We're going to apply a pen table to all the print definitions listed in the print set. So we're going to highlight this folder and then select View and View All Print Definitions. Now essentially what this has done is, despite all of my files being in separate folders, this is showing me all the files that are in the entire pset. So just like previously when I was modifying two files at once, this allows me to highlight all of the files in my pset so that I can make changes to the properties. In this instance, they're wanting me to apply the f.pen table. The other thing we're going to do here is select Print Preview. And what we're demonstrating here is, just like I previously had shown you, because all these files are in your selection set, you can preview them just by selecting the drop-down. So now that we've done all of our print previewing, it's time to actually print. I'm going to save my pset. It's always good to save your work. And I can either click the print icon or select from the file menu, print. As you can see, because we applied a print style, the f.pdf.pltcfg is applied. Okay, we're doing this as a single print job. And you see that because we're doing a PDF, it's providing me with a browse location for my PDF. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the ENG data folder. There's a print organizer status message on my other screen. Not sure why it's there and not on this one, but it's letting me know that it is indeed printing those files to PDF. And the magic of plotting. I imagine this key sheet has something to do with my data set, and that's why it looks the way it does, and we may need to update that. There's one other thing I'd like to show you today, and that is creating a pset using Sheet Navigator. So to create a pset using Sheet Navigator, the first thing you want to do is create an index. I'm going to go ahead, and I've used the phrase "I'm going to go ahead" several times during this presentation. That must be my favorite phrase. I'm creating a project index. I always like to select rebuild existing index. That's just me. But alternatively, you can select to process new and modified files only. We can get into a long discussion about the difference between those two options. All right, here's your bonus round. I'm going to generate a print set. You simply go to File, Generate Print Set. That's fancy. You can select what revision you want, or alternatively, all the sheets. I'm just going to save this at the root of my project because this is indeed my entire project. You can see that it's generating a print set. And you can see that the components have been separated out, which is very nice. So you can view the entirety of your project. Looks like we need to do a little bit of renumbering on a couple of them. So that's creating a print set through Sheet Navigator. What happens when you have sheets 99.999999? Typically, that means that there is either not a sheet number. Actually, yes, no, it means there's not a sheet number, and so Sheet Navigator is not able to determine what component to put it in. So the solution to that is to go ahead and give that a sheet number. How to fix the key sheet on the P set. I'm going to go ahead and open up that key sheet just so we can take a look at it. Okay, this one does have the PDF map, so we'd need to do that with grayscale. Let's take a little look here. Need to change the pen table, key sheet PLT CFG. Yeah, let's take a look at what's going on here.
Oh, Matt, first look at the map, and is that what type of map is that?
Yeah, I'm thinking it might not be what we think it is, because it's not behaving like I would expect. Ooh, hey, look at that.
See, that's one of the DGN shapefile references. That's not a PDF reference.
Okay, and in a standard PDF map, that should have looked normal because I've printed a number of those.
Correct.
I hadn't had to go through any song and dance for that.
Right, you printed it like a PDF, but it's not. That's one of the color maps. You would have to, like they're suggesting, use a different driver, and you'd have to use a color driver and then a pin table that goes along with that to get it to print correctly. But if that was a PDF in FDOT SS4 MR2, we released a new clipping engine that allows you to clip PDFs for your key maps, and that resolves this problem of having to have a separate print driver for your key sheets, because when you clip your key sheet from a PDF, then you can just use the same print driver you normally would for the rest of your sheets and use a grayscale setting, and it comes out appropriately.
Can we use different print styles when we print in Print Organizer so the key sheet comes out in color? Well, if we're using the new PDFs, that shouldn't be a problem. But if you are using the shape files, to apply a print style, you just select whichever ones you want to apply a print style to, and just like in the dialog, you select to apply the print style.
Yeah, that won't work with the key sheets though, because you got to use a different print driver. You got to use a color print driver for the key sheets.
Right.
And a black and white print driver for all of the other sheets. And Print Organizer will allow you to use one print driver at a time. You can't mix and match print drivers in Print Organizer.
Okay. So the print style would not matter, as the question is stated. It's the print driver is what would solve that problem. So that is a limitation.
Correct. And again, that's resolved by using the PDF maps.
Alrighty, I'd like to thank everyone for attending Traffic Plans Chapter 13 on printing traffic plans. If you have any questions, again, give me a call, shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to help you. Thanks for such a good audience welcoming me back to doing webinars.